We could talk for 30 minutes here, Wimbo, I'm sure, about all your accomplishments, but what are you most proud of what you've done here at Marion?
The love, the people, the relationships.
Wimbo, I think, personifies what it means to be a servant leader.
Impact. That's the only word I can think of is impact.
I've been in education for over 30 years, and I'm hard-pressed to think of someone so beloved as Mr. Wimberly.
You're going to hear work ethic. You're going to hear high character. You're going to hear just constantly trying to do things the right way and being loyal to your staff, your school, and your community. And if you think of those things, that's what makes Wimbo such a great man and a great coach.
First off, a lot of people are raised by their mother and father. My father, biological father, wasn't in my life. I tried to reach out to him, didn't have any success. That's okay. Not okay, but it's what it is. But anyway, but my mom, she did the best she could to take care of me. At times she was in relationships that were abusive. And again, that was very horrific for a teenager, even at 8 or 9 years old, having to deal with that and then becoming a teenager. But still, my aunt, she would always go to church, and my grandmother would always, so that's why I was drugged to church. They made me go,
His mother was 13 years old when she had him. And so he grew up in our home for a great many years. The home in which 6 children and Darrell and my mother were raised in was a 3-room house. And that's probably an overstatement to say it was a house.
Looking at the environment that I was in, there was a lot of drug use. There was a lot of people getting shot. As a matter of fact, it was so bad, they had a police substation right between Carter Homes, the project I lived in, and Southwick, which is an adjacent projects. And so it was very rough, but you had to make some decisions. And so when I started getting involved with football, again, I got to high school, and I used to like to fight. I hate to admit this, but when I was in junior high, I used to like to fight for whatever reason.
Didn't really cause major problems, but he, like the rest of us, got in trouble every now and then.
And I got to high school, they said, well, are you going to play football or are you going to fight? I chose football. And we were so poor that we didn't have equipment. So we had to show up at the game, and we'd get the team that played before us, their sweaty equipment, and put it on. We didn't have jerseys. And so anyway, we lost every game. First day of practice, we did a drill called the bull in the ring. And so that bull in the ring, they were hitting me, they call a number and knocking me down. So the next day I didn't go back. I was like, man, I'm done with football. So I almost quit football, okay? I literally did quit football. And then Mr. McKenzie, the gentleman that drove us around in the station wagon to practice, he came to my house and said, hey, they call me Slim. Slim, how come you didn't show up for practice? I said, Mr. McKenzie, those guys, they kept hitting me like that. I don't want to do that. He said, the problem is you are waiting for them to hit you. I said, I can go hit them? And man, I went back that next day, I was hitting people left and right, man. And I was hitting numbers they didn't even call. But, I almost quit. So I'll fast forward to the fact that I stuck with it. But there were so many better linebackers, so many better football players than I was. But they didn't want to, when they got to high school, they didn't want to follow rules. They didn't want to go to class. They didn't want to keep their grades up. So I was very fortunate that when I was a sophomore, I was starting to get recruited. Matter of fact, I remember Lee Corso came to my school and my buddy said, "Hey, Lee Corso's here to see you." I said, "Man, quit playing."
Going to school was a refuge for, I think, Darrell and myself. We lived in a fairly dynamic, and that's not necessarily a positive dynamic environment, community. And so going to school, you could lose yourself, you could be creative, you could think, you could study, you could be removed from all that was around you and come back into it and be able to address it and deal with it or cope with it. So
I played football and basketball at Butler. I was a better football player, obviously. Basketball I made all county, but football I was fortunate enough to make all state. I played tight end, and I also played outside linebacker, defensive end. So yeah, I guess I was successful at that, but yeah.
And I've asked numerous times to get game film just to go back and watch him. But whenever you see his football card and you see his picture, and there's times when those stories and those words and that emotion comes out, and you see those eyes, and it's like, that dude can play. That dude can play.
Anyway, I chose University of Louisville because, again, growing up poor, I didn't really think I could afford going back and forth. My final choices was Indiana, Louisville, and Tennessee. Now knowing what I know now, I had a free ride from Cornell, and Ivy League. I didn't know anything about Ivy League, as a teenager. But again, nothing against University of Louisville, but that would have been an awesome choice. But I did start for 3 years, my sophomore through senior year, and so I was. One of those things where I just learned just a strong work ethic. That I had to go out and prove myself every day.
No, there's just probably nobody that I've ever been around that personifies the word humble more than Coach Wimberly. Like I said, he's all about people. He's all about service. I think that comes I think that's a direct reflection of his faith. I think he would tell you that if he was sitting here right now.
There was a guy named Richard Abram and myself. We both played outside linebacker and tight end. So the coach at U of L said, "Okay, you guys are going to try out for both positions." And then I went out for a pass, dropped it. They said, "You're going to play linebacker." So I played at the old Cardinal Stadium. It was a baseball stadium that was converted to a football stadium. Now they play in Papa John Stadium. It's awesome, okay? So yeah, it's definitely been upgraded since I played there. Playing on the turf, it was exciting. We played against Southern Miss and a lot of schools. We played against Miami, Florida State, a lot of big schools like that.
That's one of those great things about Wimbo is, you would never know the success he's had as an athlete, the success he's had as a businessman. All the accolades he's achieved, the awards he's achieved, you would never know. He remains extremely humble. He's very approachable. Wimbo has a lot of credibility with the kids because of his background, but that's not where his success lies.
And so I actually got a free agent contract. I wasn't drafted. I got a free agent contract with the New York Jets. So I'm on the airplane coming back after I get cut, and I get his card out, and I call him. And so we meet up, and that was in 1984, and I started working for Commonwealth Life Insurance, and that was my first career. I spent 20 years with them. Working with Commonwealth Life Insurance, I met my wife, Dion, and it was a neat situation there because me and my daughters were just out just eating and enjoying ourselves, and I see Miss Dion, and I like, wow. And my one daughter, Emerald, said, "Don't even think about it, Dad." So
I noticed that he was staring at me, and so he beckoned me over, and he said, "What's your name?" And I told him, I said, "My name is Dion." He says, "Is there any possibility that I can have your number?" And I'm like, but the thing about it is, I have to admit, when I first looked into his eyes, I knew he was the one, because it was something about his eyes. I just knew. It's something my soul knew. And I'm like, yeah. So he thought I gave him a fake number, but I gave him the real number.
She gave me her number, and we talked on the phone all night pretty much. And the rest is history, man. I'm telling you, with God again, God has a plan, man. And like I said, we've been married 27 years now, been together 28 years. We got an opportunity to go to Marion, Illinois. So she said, "You're moving where?" She said, "You are moving." She didn't say we're moving.
And I'm like, "Move to where?" Marion, where's that at?
So anyway, we prayed again. We prayed about it. She woke up the next morning and said, "Hey, look like we're moving."
I just, come to the conclusion that as long as I'm with him and he's with me, we'll make it.
When I came to Marion, my son Anthony, he wanted to go to the batting cage over there at Ray Foster Park. And so anyway, we're over there, and I'm not a baseball guy, so I said, I'm gonna go shoot some basketball, while he's over there doing that. So I see Chris Dalton, and I see Stephen Campbell. They're over there playing basketball, and they said, "Hey, you play football at U of L?" "Yeah, I did." "Yeah." I said, "Well, you ought to coach us." I mean, they're sitting there making these ideas up. And I said, "Well, guys, I guess I can talk to your coach and see." And it was Coach McGee at the time. And that's kind of how I built relationships with the students initially.
Yeah, July 1, 2002 was my first day at Marion High School. I was 34 years old and thought, I'm going to have a few days here to kind of get the lay of the land, settle in. And I'd walked in my office that morning and probably hadn't even hit the chair. And I hear, if you remember the old gate in the old office, swing open. And I think it was something along the line of "Praise the Lord," talking to the ladies. And I was like, "Who's this guy?" And here he comes down the hall, walks in my door, had no idea who he was. He introduced himself. Of course, you know what a giant Wimbo is. Sat down, he said, "Hey," he said, I want a job here." And I'm like, "Whoa, man, we've started already," And he just started talking about, the conviction he had to be here to work with young people. I think he was coaching at the time. And again, I had no idea who he was. He had an MBA, had no background in education. And at first I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to get rid of this guy? But as we talked, it became very clear that this guy really had a mission. And I knew we had some needs.
So with that being said, Ray Hillsman, they were starting the Extension Center at that time. And he was a vice principal, and so he had to find someone to take his position so he can start the Extension Center.
I pick up the phone, call my superintendent, I say, "Hey, I don't know if you know this guy, but we need to hire him." And he said, "Yeah, I know him." And he said, "I agree with you."
And so my wife calls me, she said, "Hey, Darrell, this guy's over here trying to offer you a job as a dean of student at the high school." And I'm like, "What?"
He's fit, he's trailblazing, he's fitting in. Everybody is, seems to embrace him. I'm like, "Okay, Darrell Wimberly, go ahead with your bad self. we can do this, okay."
Rest is history.
You couldn't ask for a better school role model. And he was always fair to everybody. He always had the same disposition. He never, I may have saw him really upset once or twice, and I'm thinking, if this guy gets really mad, there's not a whole lot I can do about it.
He's the perfect balance of, he can be positive, rah, enthusiastic, but then he can also come down hard on kids, and they respect it, and they listen, because he tries his hardest to be positive as long as he can, and he's better at it than anybody I've ever met.
Whenever I see Mr. Wimberly, he always brightens my day. And you just can't help but put you in a good mood.
He's just so smooth and comforting to these kids. They love him to death, and boy, are they going to miss him, and we're all going to miss him.
Mr. Wimbo has adopted kids for the last 19 years that he has taken over and helped out and matured, and they would rather let the parents down than to let Mr. Wimbo down.
He's a gentle giant. He's very caring. He's been blessed in so many ways.
And really, through coaching changes and through players that come and go and through struggles that players endure, he is that centerpiece of that environment that we all get to take in here at Marion High School.
Wimbo is a powerful constant. I think in a very ever-changing world, a world that's changing more rapidly, it seems like each year, Wimbo is that constant that I think we need now more than ever.
There was, I think it was 2007 maybe, we were playing in Harrisburg, and that was one of our best years we've ever had. And Harrisburg was whooping us at halftime. It was 20-0, I think. And we go into the locker room defeated, not knowing what just hit us. And I think Coach Martin was getting ready to speak, and Wimbo said, "I got this." And he gave one of the most inspirational speeches I've heard. And he got in their stuff. I mean, he was in them, and he was intense. And the kids, the look on their face was just like this. But that fueled them. They came out and won 21-20.
People talk about, the success we've had in the last few years, and a lot of that is, I can direct that to Coach Wimbo.
Developing those relationships. Wimbo is as good as they come, man.
His heart, his love for the other coaches, his love for the game, his love for the players is just overwhelming. And no matter how your day is going, as soon as you see Wimbo and that big smile, and he just, before every game, he's like, "Hey, let's dial something up, let's get after him." It's like, okay, Wimbo.
He's a great coach, but above everything else, I mean, his skills to work with people. He's all, if you've been around Coach Wimberly, and everybody has, I mean, he's all about relationships, and it's never about him.
When I think of Wimbo, the first thing that comes to my mind is Christ-like.
We don't get to see the actual physical Jesus, so we have to see Christ through the personification of other people. And certainly I think Darrell is an amazing example of that Christ-like figure, the kind of person that makes you want to be better. He makes people that are around him better, and I think he certainly is an inspiration to me.
First of all, I prayed one Sunday night in First Baptist Church in the service. I said, "God, I feel like I'm on the sidelines. Wherever you send me at, I'll preach."
When Darrell declared that the Lord spoke to him to preach, and I'm like, "The Lord told you what?" I'm like, "Okay."
I said that on a Sunday night. On that Wednesday, that following Wednesday, Stan Ken, a deacon from East Liberty, said, "Hey, we don't have a pastor. Could you come in and preach for us, just on Sundays?" They call it supply preaching. Just fill in, just one Sunday, And so apparently God did something wonderful, and they asked me to come back. I've been back ever since. That was back in November of 2002.
I had no doubt that he can do it because he proved it before, and so I just, sat my yellow behind down and just let him lead, and I'll follow.
When I think of Darrell, I just think of a total servant's heart, and a Bible verse that sums it up for me, for Darrell, would be Philippians 4:8, and it's simply, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, if it's right, if it's pure, and if it's lovely, and if it's admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think on these things." And Darrell, that's what you have done for all the kids and all the staff at the school.
Man, if I could be like one man, it would be Wimbo.
I mean, he's just impacted so many people in the school community.
He is there to greet you. He knows all the kids. He tries to start the day with a positive, welcome, or just a positive encouragement for the kids, just so that they can start their day the best way possible.
I mean, the city of Marion, Southern Illinois, is definitely blessed to have Mr. Wimbo to be in their presence.
The countless lives he's touched, in our high school and on the fields and courts, we just probably can't even count that many, how many kids he's impacted, and that we'll never know.
He would find the positive side of it, where he may have had some instances that he was wanting something and didn't get it, where I may have had a small fit. Coach Wimbo was even keel, man. He said, "Well, the Lord didn't want me to have it, so be it." And he would move on. And that's why I love the man, and I always will.
And so Wimbo,
is from the school of life. He's lived life, and his wisdom is shown day in and day out in the guidance that he gives to students, the conversations he's able to have with parents, and especially when he's doing his best to support teachers. Knowing and understanding people is a gift, and Wimbo has it.
Oh yeah, I get a little emotional because talk about living having a life based on an attitude of gratitude, and people are blessed with amazing talent and abilities, and unfortunately not everybody realizes those abilities and talents until sometimes it's too late. And I just found out, just knowing this guy for 6 years, that he figured it out early on. He knows his calling, he knows who he is, he's true to himself, and the impact he's made on me personally and just everybody around him is just it's just unbelievable.
His impact is so far-reaching. It's just not in the hallways. It's in the community. It's with adults, with youth. It's in the sports and the coaches he coached with, and people I run across who know who he is, who I would never dream know who he is. So his impact is far and wide, and I'm going to tell you, Marion High School is going to miss him dearly. I don't know if they know that yet, but I'm telling you, they're going to miss him dearly.
You never really can appreciate someone like Coach Wimberly until the day you walk in and that smiling face is not there to greet you.
I'm the one that's blessed. I really am. To have a God-fearing, faithful man that is prophet, priest, protector, and provider over our family. And I know that God has really blessed me as a woman of faith, and I know I'm blessed and highly favored to have him in my life. I do know that.
Wimbo is universally loved and respected. You can cross gender and racial lines and socioeconomic backgrounds, and it doesn't matter. Wimbo relates to everyone, and it's amazing how far I go in coaching or what I do in this profession, and on the periphery of Marion are these other communities, and they all know about Wimbo, and other coaches, other coaching staffs, other communities always ask me about Wimbo and what it's like to work with him. And so his reputation stretches far and wide in Southern Illinois.
He will go down as the most impactful, influential person to walk through these halls. He has impacted more people than I can even imagine, in a positive way. His legacy will be Christ-like.
Wimbo, congratulations, namesake. You deserve it, my brother. It's been a while since I've seen you, but I heard you doing some amazing things, man. I'm really proud of you and happy retirement. It's awesome to see that you made an impact where you were at. I've heard through the grapevine that everybody's crazy about you and they want you to run for mayor. I'm just kidding, brother, but congratulations, man. Next time you're back in the Ville, man, make sure you holler at me. Take care, my brother. Happy retirement.
Thank you, Coach Wimberly. We love you, man.
Thank you, Wimbo. We're going to miss you.
Thank you, Wimbo.
Thank you, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Wimbo. I love you with all my heart.
Coach Wimbo, I love you, brother. Always will.
Thank you, Wimbo.
Thank you, Mr. Wimberly, for everything you've done for Marion High School.
Thank you, Mr. Wimberly, for all your encouragement over the years. You will be missed.
I just wish you nothing but the best, man. I wish you nothing but pure happiness and retirement. You and Miss Dion, you guys enjoy it. You deserve it. And if I can ever help you guys in any way, I can. You just got to give me a call, brother. I love you, man.
I love you, Wimbo, and thank you for all you've done for everyone that's come through these hallways at MHS.
Well, good luck to you, and we love you.
I just thank you. I wish you the very best. We're going to miss you. We love you, and we'll see you around a little bit next year, I hope.
Thank you, Coach Wimbo.
Best of luck. I wish the very best life has to offer, pal.
Thank you, Wimbo.
For putting others before yourself and loving all of us at the same time. Thank you.
From one Wildcat to another, well done, good and faithful servant.
Honey, I love you. I will support you. I will continue to support you in any endeavors that you want to expand your territory in from this moment on. God bless you, sweetheart.
Rat-a-tat-tat that baseball, man. That's my favorite pregame speech, man. We're going to do some hitting.